Does girth matter more than length? Let's be honest. This question keeps way too many men up at night. And most never hear a real answer from women because it feels awkward to ask and even more awkward to answer. So here's the truth. Condensed from what women actually report when they're comfortable, anonymous, and not trying to protect anyone's ego. First, there isn't a single universal preference. What most women describe is comfort plus connection plus stimulation, and different bodies reach that in different ways. Some say girth gives them a fuller, more satisfying pressure against the vaginal walls, especially the outer third where a lot of sensation lives. Others say length matters in specific positions or moments because the angle changes and deeper contact can feel more emotionally intense if they are aroused, relaxed, and well lubricated. But when you listen closely, one pattern keeps coming back. If a woman has to pick one in a vacuum, many say moderate girth feels more consistently noticeable in everyday intimacy, while length is more situational and depends on position, arousal state, and technique. That's not a vote against length. It's simply how sensation tends to work for many women. Here's what women consistently add when they explain the why. The entrance and first few centimeters can be very sensitive, so the feeling of stretch and pressure there can be pleasantly present even with slow movement. That's why girth can stand out. But when arousal builds and the pelvis tilts, certain angles let deeper contact feel emotionally powerful. Still, only if her body is ready. If you rush, the same depth that might feel amazing later can feel like pressure or even pain early on. Translation: the order matters. Arousal first, lubrication second, then depth or intensity. When that sequence is right, the argument of girth versus length fades and the real question becomes rhythm, angle, and chemistry. Now, what do women actually say they remember after great intimacy? It's rarely a number. They remember how safe they felt, how present you were, whether your rhythm matched theirs, whether you paid attention to breath, to tension in their legs and hips, to the cues that say more or not yet. They remember if you slowed down when their body said slow down, and if you knew how to resume in a way that kept them in the moment rather than pushing them out of it. They remember the buildup that started outside the bedroom, how you touched their back when you passed behind them in the kitchen, the way you looked at them when they were speaking, how you teased a little, how you created anticipation. None of that requires length or girth. It requires attention. Let's get more concrete. Women mention 5 dimensions that consistently matter more than the size debate itself. First, compatibility. Bodies are different. Pelvic angles, muscle tone, and sensitivity vary. One woman might prefer a gentle, steady stretch and slower movement because her pelvic floor is tight from stress or sitting all day. Another might feel best with more motion and alternating angles. The same partner can prefer different things on different days depending on hormones, sleep, and mood. Second, pacing. Arousal rises in waves, not a straight line. When you learn to surf those waves, backing off when she's close to overstimulation, returning with a smoother rhythm, you often turn good into overwhelmingly good, regardless of whether you're above or below average in any measurement. Third, angles. Small changes matter. A pillow under the lower back, one hand guiding the tilt of the hips, a shift from straight thrusting to shallow circles at the entrance can transform how she perceives pressure and friction. Fourth, presence. Presence is not just eye contact. It's how quickly you adjust to feedback, how you breathe, and whether you can stay calm enough to notice her cues. Fifth, aftercare. When she feels cared for after, her memory of the entire experience becomes warmer and more open, and desire tends to return sooner. Women also talk about pain and comfort more than men realize. Dryness, pelvic floor tension, or stress can make even moderate length or girth feel too much. Gentle warm-up, kissing, touch, lips, hands, hips, breath, lets muscles release and blood flow improve. That's when a full feeling becomes pleasurable instead of intense. Lubrication is an act of respect, not a confession that something's wrong. Many women say the best partners treat lube like lighting a candle, normal, thoughtful, and part of the atmosphere. When asked directly, women often explain that technique is not a party trick. It's an attitude. It means learning to read micro-reactions, a sudden inhale, the way her thighs press in or open, a change in pelvic tilt, her shoulders rising with tension, her toes curling, her hands shifting from soft to firm. It's also learning to ask the simplest questions without killing the moment. Like this? Slower? More pressure here? When you ask softly and keep moving smoothly, women say it feels caring, not clinical. They feel invited, not interrogated. That sense of co-authoring the moment beats any static debate about size. What about the positions women themselves mention when they compare girth and length? Many report that positions with shallower entry feel better with moderate girth because the pressure stays in the sensitive outer region, and the clitoral network can be stimulated more reliably with hips and pelvis against pelvis. Positions with deeper entry can feel amazing later in the encounter because the angle changes and movement can be slower and more enveloping. But here's the catch they bring up. Deeper is not automatically better, and faster is not automatically more passionate. Smoothness, timing, and how you build from shallow to deeper contact make the difference. If you treat depth like a dial instead of a switch, you'll be surprised how often what works stops being a measurement and becomes a sequence. Another theme women bring up is emotional safety. Not dramatic vulnerability, simple safety. Do they feel judged? Do you make size, performance, or orgasm a test? If a woman feels she is being graded, her body protects her. If she feels welcomed, her body participates. That's why some women say they had their best experiences with partners who are not the biggest, not the longest, but the most attentive and generous. Attentive partners build arousal like a story with chapters. Less attentive partners rush to the last page and wonder why the plot felt thin. Let's tackle a few myths that keep men anxious. Myth 1, bigger always wins. Not true. Many women prefer balance over extremes because extremes limit the range of motion or the positions that feel comfortable for a long time. Myth 2, if she doesn't react to depth, she doesn't like you. Also not true. She may enjoy depth when aroused later in the encounter, but right now her body needs warmth, rhythm, and the kind of contact that keeps her relaxed. Myth 3, if she needs lube, you're failing. False. Lube is normal, it reduces friction, and it lets the body focus on pleasure instead of defense. Myth 4, women compare you to past partners by size. If they compare at all, most compare by how they felt emotionally and physically. Seen, safe, turned on, relaxed, invited, connected. The rest is trivia. Here's what women consistently praise when they describe standout partners. They praise foreplay that isn't a checklist, but a mood, the kind that begins hours earlier with playfulness and tenderness. They praise men who know how to switch gears, fingertips to palms, soft to firm, slow to still, then slow again. They praise men who can hold eye contact without pressure, who can kiss without grabbing, who can read when to talk and when to be quiet. They praise steadiness, being able to stay present, breathe, and not rush when things are intense. None of that can be purchased, measured, or compared. It's learned. So where does that leave the original question, girth versus length? If you're looking for one sentence, here it is. In everyday intimacy, a comfortable, confidence-building girth often feels more consistently stimulating for many women, while length tends to shine in certain positions and moments once arousal is high and comfort is established. But chasing that sentence misses the bigger lesson. Women don't make love to a measurement. They make love to a man who understands pacing, listens with his hands and eyes, and values their comfort as much as his ego. What should you actually do with this information tonight? Start the story earlier. Use your day to build anticipation. When the moment comes, begin slow enough that you feel her body soften, not brace. Think of movement as language with vowels and consonants. Circles, pauses, shallow rhythms are the vowels that let the deeper consonants land later without feeling harsh. Ask gentle questions and believe the answers. If something doesn't work, pivot without drama. If she needs a different angle, make it feel like an upgrade, not a correction. Keep your breathing steady so your body doesn't rush ahead of your intention. And after, stay, hold her, stroke her back, talk quietly. That memory rewires tomorrow's desire more than anything you do in the first minute. One more thing women say when the microphones are off. Confidence is not the same as certainty. Confidence is being calm enough to explore. Certainty is pretending you already know everything. Confidence says, "Tell me what you like. I want to learn you." Certainty says, "I know what all women want." Confidence is magnetic. Certainty is brittle. If you want a skill that outperforms size anxiety, learn to be confidently curious. That quality makes partners feel chosen, not evaluated. And people bloom when they feel chosen. If you've spent years worrying about numbers, take this as your permission to redirect that energy. Strengthen your presence, your patience, your awareness of rhythm and angle. Treat arousal as a sequence and connection as the goal, because when women answer honestly, that's what they reward. Not the ruler in a bathroom drawer, but the man who shows up fully, listens carefully, and turns intimacy into something the body remembers for all the right reasons.